She's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and everywhere that you get your podcast. Today, we are going to be breaking down the Senior Bowl, the offensive side, the 10 players that we saw that really kind of shined to us. Now, as you can probably hear, as you can probably see, Johnny PayPal is not with me today. He's having some car troubles. He got a brand new car, brand new Subaru, so super excited about it. Goes to the gym, someone hits his car and takes out a tail light. So PayPal, we're with you, my man, and hopefully you can get that fixed soon. But like we said, today I'm flying solo. We're going to fly through the 10 offensive players that really stuck out during the Senior Bowl. Not just during the game, but really throughout the week. It's about the practice. It's about the actual game itself. And that's what we're going to be covering here today. So let's get this thing started. Let's get this show on the road. Let's start with the number one person that impressed me. And this isn't going to be in order, but I really feel like this first person is really going to be who impressed me the most. And number one to me was Michael Wilson, wide receiver out of Stanford. This guy, who was he? Not a lot of people knew who he was. Overall, he was not ranked very high. He was the 256 wide receiver on the consensus big board. And now he comes in and has the best game out of anybody out there. 4 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Showed some good ability to catch the ball on a deep pass. And I'm just talking about the game, right? We all saw how he was able to just stick his foot in the ground, break past someone, and get the ball on one of the first plays of the game. I was very good. And do I think he's going to be a first rounder, second rounder? No. I still think he's probably going to be, I could see him going in the 4th. But I think for a team like the Bears, who really need help at the wide receiver position, a Michael Wilson, very late, could be a good player that we end up picking up. Also, good to note too, very good in special teams. So if he's not a good wide receiver, he can put him in that special teams. Very good, going to be very coveted in the draft, and just all around great job. Now, the reason why he was so low ranked was he's never had a great season, really. The Stanford offense has been absolutely atrocious last season, and he had 418 yards and 4 touchdowns. So off and on injuries, not a good offense. It was nice to see a player like this. Very crisp routes, showed that he had a nose for the ball, and just looked like a better player than anybody else out there. And Earl, let's go, my man. I love talking draft. I love talking stuff like this. This is what gets me excited, and I can't wait for the draft as well. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 was definitely somebody who turned heads in practice. You might have heard his name on a bunch of other shows. This was the guy at the running back position, and that was Tyjae Spears, running back out of Tulane. Now, everybody thinks that this guy was the best player out there. Spears was voted Senior Bowl Practice Player of the Week, and for good reason. Great speed, showed great awareness. People were saying his vision in the hole, phenomenal. I'd love to see the Bears get another Tulane running back. He had 1,581 rushing yards last year and 19 touchdowns at a 6.9 yards per carry. Now, for those that watched the game, he didn't look fantastic. They gave it to him one time for only 2 yards, but it's about the practice. It's about what can you put on tape? How do you come to practice? And people were saying, this guy by far best running back out there. Looked great. Everything about him was phenomenal. Now, when we talk about do the Bears need a running back, this is what we're talking about with this depth. Tyjae Spears looked good, a guy that you can get later on in the draft, and I'm guessing maybe the 4th because of what he was able to put on tape at the Senior Bowl practices. So Tyjae Spears, easily the best running back. but I want to include another running back out there. This was difficult. I could have given it to McIntosh, but I'm giving it to Eric Gray out of Oklahoma. Eric Gray, to me, showed some good speed, and other scouts agree with me that Eric Gray had a very good all around week of practice. Looked like a good player that you can get later on in the draft. 1,366 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns for a 6.4 yards average. And he did get the ball out in space, and I remember seeing kind of his wheels flying out there. Now, yeah, I wanted to throw him out there. I think I actually have 11 on my list, and he was going to be my 11th person out, but cat's out of the bag. So it's going to be 11 now. Eric Gray was right on my fringe, but seriously, good week of practice. A lot of scouts have called him out from the practice perspective, just someone that increased his draft stock. But let's go to the next. And this guy, another name that a lot of people heard, but he did not participate in the game. And that's Nathaniel Tank Dell out of Houston. Now, Nathaniel Tank Dell, even though that he's got the nickname, it's more of an ironic nickname. He's a small guy. And honestly, I think overall Nathaniel Dell, it's interesting because overall was ranked 94th player on the consensus big board. And so late third round type of a prospect. And a lot of people are saying maybe he can go in the second round. Do I want the Bears to touch him? No, I get nervous when you talk about an outlier with the size and the speed. You look at what happened with Wan'Dale Robinson when he was drafted, either in the second or the third. And then there's another wide receiver, blanking on the name, from the Rams, a very slight very slight frame. It's more rare that those outliers end up succeeding. And to me, even though Nathaniel Dell was able to put great tape on, a second round, potentially drafting him in the second round just seems a little bit too rich for me. So that's just me overall. I'm not a big fan of, I like the tape of Nathaniel Dell, but the second and third round hype is just a little bit too much. And Renewable's asking, what is Dell's size compared to Tariq Cohen? That's a really good question. Let me just check that out real quick. Dell, because that's going to be a big question. They have him listed 5'10", 165 pounds, but I want to say he was slightly smaller. But it's not like he's 5'6" or anything like that. It's really his weight. So I think the big question for the training staff is, can you add weight to him? Now, it seems easy, but that's something that the trainers will have to answer. And I wish PayPal was on, because he knows more about the health side of things, and he can say, nah, or yes, that would be a concern. So he had about 1,400 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns last season. Incredible. Like, the production's there, the route running's there. The big question will be the weight. Because he definitely weighed in the 160s, which is very, very, very light. But he was constantly cooking corners. Very interesting to see where Nathaniel Dell will end up going. But let's go on to the next wide receiver out there. We did not touch base on him before, but Jaden Reed, the wide receiver out of Michigan State. Jaden Reed, not necessarily the greatest game in the world, coming on Saturday, but still a good player nonetheless. Someone that just showed great release off the line of scrimmage and also very good speed at the wide receiver position. Solid ball skills and showed solid route running. And this is a prospect that wasn't supposed to go too high. He was consensus 147, so made some money, maybe a fourth round type of a wide receiver. Got to go back and see how many fourth round grades I'm giving out here, but I think he's really solidifying himself as an early day 3 wide receiver after the performance that he was able to put on in the practices. Now, wide receivers, there could be other people that we add out there. Let me know down in the comments who really impressed you, wide receivers and running backs. But going over to tight ends, I'm going to add one of the boys that I had as someone to watch out for. And he had only 2 catches, but he did turn a lot of heads. We talked about this in the preview. Luke Musgrave, the tight end out of Oregon State, an absolute freak of nature athletically, very, very built, and also had some really good run blocking reps out there on tape. So to me, I like him. The only problem is he might have boosted his way as a low key first round tight end. Too rich for my blood. Too rich for a potential backup tight end for Cole Kmet or a replacement to Cole Kmet. I still think that the Bears end up drafting a tight end because it usually takes a tight end a year or two to develop. So it'd be really smart to do that. But Luke Musgrave, 2 catches, 13 yards, but it's not just the game. He also had phenomenal practices and really turned some heads out there because this is a player that really only played in 2 games last season. And that's why these practices were huge for him. So he really needed to prove himself. But let's go out to my second tight end that I have on the list, and that's Durham out of Purdue. Payne Durham made some great catches out there, and you might have seen it. It was probably on some of the highlight packages. Now, this is a player 6'5", 255. Last year, 560 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns at the tight end position. Payne Durham looked good. Looked like one of the better tight ends out there and just could hold his own. That's really what you're trying to find with some of these players. And at that tight end position, let me just pull this up. He was ranked 305 overall on the consensus big board. And this is really a riser because he showed that he's an NFL player, that he's an NFL tight end. He at least deserves someone's draft pick. I think he could be a really good steal for the Bears in the day 3 type of range because, like we said, this guy should be able to hang out on some rosters and play pretty well. Look good, look comfortable out there, and had a good week in practice. But now, tight ends. Tight ends are all done. Renewable saying too down in the comments, Reed is nice, Hutchinson better. Wilson's health history, no. That's a very good point that he made. So he's talking about the wide receivers out there. So Reed, Hutchinson, and Wilson. So Hutchinson is the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Yeah, didn't hear too much out of him over this week. Just didn't see too much, but also Wilson, that is a very good point. Michael Wilson, the first person I brought up, Michael Wilson's health has been shoddy in the past. Definitely need to see with the trainers how does he feel. So I think when he goes to the scouting combine, it's going to be really interesting what the trainers think of Michael Wilson. Let's go over to the offensive line. The offensive line, there was some very good players and very good players on the American team. Now, the players that I'm talking about, my first one that I got to bring up is Cody Mauch, the North Dakota State tackle, guard, whatever you want to call him. I thought that he played well. Now, I did see that somebody had him as a loser, but everybody else, winners. And in my book, during the game, I thought he played great. He started the game at left guard and looked good. Cody Whitehair is not a given to be on this roster next year because of his contract situation. Yeah, we have the biggest cap space in the world, but it doesn't mean that if we like someone better, we shouldn't just have to keep Cody Whitehair. And I think that Mauch showed that he's a good left guard, but at the right tackle position too, I thought he really held his own. And those are 2 positions that the Bears, we really need. So thank God we have it on tape. We saw him at left guard. We saw him at right tackle. Only thing I will say just from grinding the tape, during that game, there's a couple times that he seemed a little out of position. But Mauch most likely will be going maybe second, maybe third round, depending on where people should believe that he should be going. Consensusly, 53. But I think that he could be a good player that we get with our second pick. Now, yet again, when we start getting into that mock draft season, Cody Mauch, we can see a little bit more where he should go. But I really liked him. And like I said, can really fill in anywhere we need him. Also, has played all 5 positions in Mobile. So really showed flexibility at that position as well. So that's some of the big stuff out there. But let's go over to my next player that I thought had a very good week, and that's Osiris Torrance, offensive guard out of Florida. This was my other kind of third, borderline 11th player on the list. So him and Gray, they're like halves for me. Because Osiris Torrance, I didn't really want to mention him because chances are he's going in the first. Came in as the 25th overall prospect. And at that guard position, I just felt like he just showed a lot of power out there. And during the week, people are saying, this guy's a beast. This guy was some players, some people, and some scouts' favorite player out of everyone. Osiris Torrance, the guard out of Florida. Maybe he drops because he's a guard, but to me, it's pretty much a done deal. He's going to be a first round lock. That's why a little hesitant if I should say anything, but ended up doing it anyways. Maybe the Bears keep on trading down and then they could pick someone like him up. But let's go to, I got two more players out there, and that is John Michael Schmitz, center out of Minnesota. We talked about him in the preview. Was turning a lot of heads, still played out there, and was very good. This guy's been one of the best centers, if not the best center, for the past 2-3 years at Minnesota in the Big Ten. Absolute dominant out there and dominant in practice. And yet again, another player, people are saying this guy's the best guy out there on the field. When you get those comps, when you get those discussions, you know you must be pretty good. John Michael Schmitz, I pray he could still be around for the Bears. And that's just something that we got to be on the lookout for. So please stick around and please be there with the Baltimore Ravens pick that we now have so that we can draft him and solidify the center position. The only thing is, I'm still kind of convinced that the Bears think Lucas Patrick's their center. I hope they're not convinced, but it still feels that way to me. But let's go to my last one, and we can kind of go through some comments down below. But let's go through the last one, and that is, since PayPal couldn't be here, I had to bring up his boy, DeJuan Jones. Did not play, got what seems to be a concussion, but DeJuan Jones goes into the weigh-in, 6'8", 375, plays very well. And yeah, I saw some people, they didn't like it that he wasn't able to play. And heck, even someone said that he lost ground because of that. To me, I think that's a load of BS. DeJuan Jones looked good in practice, weighed in great. And why I think that he is one of the biggest winners is he put himself on the map. He's like, listen, guys, I'm good. I can play. And I think that's why, to me, he is a huge winner here, because now, as someone that was like thought of as a second rounder, as even maybe an early third rounder, people are saying this guy should be in the first. Why hasn't he been in the first? He's got the size, and he showed during Senior Bowl practice this guy can play. Reminds me of Orlando Brown Jr., very easy comp because of the pure size and athleticism. Could be a very good prospect at the next level. Let's see what else is out here too. Renewable saying right at right tackle, he likes Avila at guard. That's a very good one. Avila out of TCU was a player that really rose up and also played center a little bit. Really kind of showing that he should be a day 2 prospect. Very good one out there. And then Osiris and Michael Schmidt, he's a fan of as well. Also, Reload saying, yo, Unbearable, what should I do? A girl likes me. Oh. So a girl likes you, Reload. Nice. Yeah, hit her up with some talk. Probably not talk about the Chicago Bears. That doesn't really work out too well for for us guys out there. But best of luck, Reload. We're all wishing well for you with the girl liking you. So best of luck. I don't have much advice. Not the best smooth talker with the ladies anymore after being married for so long. It's you kind of throw away all the lines that you had at one point. But if PayPal was here, he'd be able to help you out. He'll be able to help you out with that, my man. But that's about it. like I said before, let me know down in the comments who some of your favorite Senior Bowl players are. We have a lot of stuff to go through now. Now, we're kind of shifting gears, going more into the free agency type of a period. It starts to get enjoyable, starts to get exciting. I'll talk it over with PayPal. Maybe start doing some mock draft Mondays. Everybody loves some mock drafts, but I got to add a little spice to it. So we'll be breaking down a lot more free agents. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll keep this thing short and simple. With that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and